So today we are here with our a great orator, Dr. Sudhindra Kaushik, who is a chief innovator from Prasu, and he's also a chairman of Thames India, and he's also given various talks in many events, and he's also a known TEDx keynote speaker. And today we are here to know how to manage ourselves in this new situation. It's like a totally a different thing. I mean, for few of them, it's kind of a dream come true, which is not it, which was just a dream, but it shouldn't have been this true for so long, because everyone be in quarantine, and I know all of you are safe, just being back home and doing your normal things back home. But it was great to do this for a week, because most of us thought, okay, let me have a break. I needed a break from this my daily routine. I wanted to spend time with my family, and many of you said I wanted to do something more than what I am doing now. So we all really enjoyed it, but not this way. But somehow we got a thing to do all this. And now today again, many of us are stuck, because emotionally we are all human beings who are bound with a lot of things, where we feel stressed even being back home for a longer time, and especially not stepping even out of the door, and getting scared to keep your steps out, or even to touch anything outside, inside, everywhere. So most of us are busy just cleaning things before touching things, and everybody have become just cleaning freak people now, because of the sequence. So today we have Dr. Sudhindra with us, so who is going to tell you and who is going to share a lot of things with you, like how exactly we can manage this new situation. We have tried a lot of things every day, and mostly we can see like every day we get few posts, few status, like most of them are becoming chef, and many men are getting into the kitchen. So there are again humor saying that once the master chef open, there will be a long line queue where all men will become a great chef now. So, and all women, they might become lazy in future to do all the household chores how they were doing. So a lot of humor is going around. So in between this, with our strict daily life, daily routine, even doing a work, and also doing our spending a lot of time with the family, but still sometime, some minute of the day, we feel no, this is it, I just want to get back to the thing. So with all this, I request now Sudhindra sir to take over things. And in between, whenever the participants, if you have any questions, you can always write down in the chat session. So at the end of the time, last 10 minutes, we'll keep it for Q&As, where our sir would be answering. So over to you, Sudhindra sir.
Thanks, Ashwini. Thank you, Ashwini, for inviting me. First of all, this was a topic I think uh, trickily. This was the topic we discussed before the lockdown extension. Okay, so we were hoping to have this. I was telling Ashwini that probably we should have this before the lockdown is lifted, and I was being very optimistic, of course, that it would be lifted last week, but it didn't happen. So we are maybe a week or two to slowly to see the beginning of the end of the lockdown. But again, many congratulations to YP team because this is one of those topics which are perhaps more bothering than a Python or a C++ at this stage. So I have done my best to take a different kind of approach to this talk. Those who have heard me before probably will find different things that you will hear from me in a different way. So let me start. How am I able to share my PPT, Ashwini? Because see the share thing enabled. You
You're a
have
presenter, sir. Now you can
now I
share.
get it.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it. Yeah, thank you. So don't forget to note. I think we have left some time to discuss that because this topic and the way it is going to be today, we will need discussion. I'm pretty sure. So let's start. So it was more about how do we rediscover, and I'll tell you why I suggested this word. I'll start with my favorite quote: "The mind is like a garden, our mind. If you plant flowers, sunflowers, whatever flower, jasmine, you get flowers. If you plant weeds, you get weeds. But if you plant nothing, you don't still get weeds. Weeds are the thing that we don't want. And today, quarantine time, like Dr. Ashwini said, it is very ideal to grow weeds, though there is an opportunity to grow flowers. There is no guarantee. And if you don't do the right thing, we'll easily end up. Mm, Today, I'm not going to give you prescription solutions or one-liners to as something that you can start off. But I'm giving you options to think, to decide, because we are in today is not a normal situation where you see a kind of a quick fix can do the job types. Nothing has a quick fix today's situation. If I compare it, you can compare it to your car, two-wheeler, or something. That there is a little bit of a problem. Maybe the air is less, so you go there, fill air, and then you take a move on. No, it's not that simple situation we are in. So it would be unfair for me to prescribe because it depends a lot on you as a person and what suits you, what preferences you have, what experiences you have, and what ambitions and what desires and what experience level you have at the given point of time. So I'll give you the option that as I see it, this is something that I have tried as myself, which I'm going to share today. My favorite thing is this one. Let me know if I have to play it twice. Usually this has to be played twice. Okay. Usually people ask me to play it twice, so watch carefully. I like this short is very simply because we don't want to be the boy on this middle of the screen here. What has the boy done wrong? Maybe nothing wrong, but he has missed a point of time where it will never come again. There was something in the class that happened that initiated the joke, and the clapping started, and he was deep asleep. So basically, he missed that moment, but he's trying to catch up and pretend. How much ever he pretends, he does not know the joke. Even if he asks his friend what happened just now, it will be a second-hand tale joke itself. So wake up calls are always necessary for us. I mean, we trust our body, but we still have a wake up call at whenever we want to wake up in the morning. It is supposed to help us. So let us look at it as a positive thing that it should help us. Okay. Now, watch carefully this video. It's an interesting thing. You might want to listen to it as well.
To test just how much attention the attention-stealing design of the new Skoda Fabia actually steals, we looked at one parked on the ordinary road in West London. We wanted to see if its sharp crystalline shapes, bold lines, and lower, wider profile would attract the desired level of attention. Will the 17-inch black alloy wheels attract? Will the angular headlights attract the attention of other road users? Will a crowd gather to check out its fresh, sporty look? Well, not quite. But did the attention-stealing design distract you from noticing that the entire street has been changing right before your very eyes? Don't believe us? Have another look. Did you see changing taxi? How about the scooter change into a pair of bicycles? Or the lady holding the pig? Let alone the fact that the entire street is now completely different. Didn't think so. Yeah. But the new Skoda Fabia is truly attention-stealing.
So this was an ad for the car, right? That's fine. But the point here is when the change is gradual, it's very difficult to capture all the changes. Okay? And there is a saying in English which says that it's very easy to miss what you're not looking for. Okay, it's very easy to miss what you're not looking for because we don't know what to look, and hence we miss a lot of things. And in the same, like you saw in this video, many things have changed which we have totally missed because we were fixated on something. The fixation, like Dr. Ashwini said in the beginning introduction, is we were fixed to our routine. We were fixed to a certain way of doing things. We were fixed to a certain uh, uh, assessment of where our life is and where we are going. Probably that all turned around, and in a way, I always say is in a positive way, because every change that has happened has been positive. Okay, change doesn't care. It doesn't matter who is being affected and how much. It just happens. Okay, and the whole point is in 1900, on very close to the day we are in, April 15th, this picture was taken, and in the middle of the picture, the street is full of horse carts, for your information, and there is one car on that street on April 15th, 1900. Okay, so there was one car spotted, all the horse carriages that were running around there. 1913, give and take about a month, the street is completely different. The day of 1900 would have been for people very a pessimistic day that they start to see something new on the road which they've never seen. But 13 years later, it's very difficult to find a horse cart on the same street. Almost there is not even one. So change has been always there. Change has been happening. How many of us believe that this has not changed us forever? Especially the youngsters. I mean, they can't live perhaps 2 days without because it's called 2 minute noodles or something like that. It's impossible. And people are constantly talking about that. I know cooking because I can cook Maggie. That is a level of affinity we have developed with ourselves. So this change has happened also. Numerous changes have happened. How many of you have known that on the left top was the phone? I don't know the left top. I know the second from the left. I have been, I have started using phone ever since that time. So it's gone much beyond this. So there has been change, and people have been always resilient to adapt to change. Okay. This is a graph. I don't want you to read it too carefully, but I want you to understand something here. On all the colored lines, there are different products that have come into different changes, you might say, that has come into humanity. At the top is telephone, electricity, cars, radio, fridge, TV, and so on, up to social media, smartphone, and tablet. I want to read this graph. On the x-axis is years, number of years. So if you see from 1900 to 2010, on the y-axis is how much percentage of the US population adopted to it. Okay, how many of the telephone to electricity to fridge to social media and so on. If you see, some graphs have taken close to 70, 80, 90 years, and some have taken days, if not years. So that means change has always been part of our life, but sometimes when you are part of the change yourself, and when there is a negative change or perceived negative change, because the negativity is only because you don't know what you are heading into, get a perception that is not a good change, and that's exactly where the change comes into picture, which Jack Welch talked about. If the rate of change on the outside, outside of us, outside of our company, outside of our college, outside of our society, outside of routine, change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. That means we are just losing out, right? Imagine you're walking on an escalator in the wrong direction. The escalator is coming down and you're walking up. Speed of escalator, which comprehends the rate of change outside, is faster than your climbing rate. You will be thrown out of the escalator in no time. It's just a matter of time. That's what he meant, that we better adapt to change before you are forced to change, right? Now, many of us have had this. If you look back at in the last 3 weeks, you can already come to some conclusions. How many of those changes we were postponing, we were procrastinating? First, make New Year resolutions only to be broken within 2 weeks, right? I always joke that the gymnasiums are full between January 10th and January 15th. And when Pongal and when Sankranti hits, it stops everything back to square one. Okay, that's why they take 6 months subscription, 1 year subscription, because they know you're not to come back after a month. So the adapt to change is before you are forced to change. Can I anticipate? Can I discipline myself to take a it's supposed to be on health as well. One fine day, maybe, touch wood, it doesn't happen to any of us. It says the doctor says, no, no, your BP is too high, your sugar is too high, you have to cut down on sweets, you have to do this, you have to do more exercise, blah, blah, blah. We had a choice to do all that much before. Perhaps we didn't do it. So the point here is adapt to change before you have to. Like again, I go back to Dr. Ashwini's opening remark. If you have started on a regime to do some of your own work yourself, or doing bartan, doing whatever you are doing, washing your clothes, etc., doing exercise, continue to do so. Find time for that because it is going to be only better for you. Okay? Because Charles, many people get it wrong. It's not that what people generally understand it is. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. That has what nature has. Share a picture with you where how what simple picture of how nature has been very smart at it. So please read this again. It's not the strongest, not the most intelligent, but the one which is who is most adaptable to change. It can be you. Point is to adapt to change, right? Now, when you think of the situation, I think I was already realizing that we were scared to see. I even draw you a cartoon a couple of weeks ago that initially were scared to say, how can I work from home? Okay, there was uncertainty. Now, 3, 4 weeks into it, people have found a way to work from home. Maybe they have some complaint, but still they have found a way to do it. Now, the question is, how do we go back from work from home to regular office work? I just read one of the offices in the US has announced already that they will permanently work from home the way they are now. Maybe more companies will follow suit. The whole point is every change will bring in some. Okay. Now the beauty of this fear is it comes from experience more than anything else. It could be good experience, it could be bad experience. You know, if you see a certain kind of person at night, conclude that it's dangerous if you had certain experience. But the beauty is, the good news is, we were born with only two fears. When we are born, we have only two fears that we are born with. One is the fear of falling, is fear of loud sound. These are the only two fears that we came on earth with. Now, how do we account for the rest of the fears? That means we have learned these fears. We have learned different kinds of fears, our own experience and so-called rationality, so-called logical mind. Okay. If it is something that we have learned, that means we can also unlearn. That's where the good news is. That's what we need to focus on. Fear is change is given. So fear means the response to the change. But can you unlearn the fear? Okay. I always say if you don't know a topic, there are only two ways. Keep the fact that you don't know or go there and learn. If can be learned. We were not born with the skill of writing, skill of driving, skill of walking, skill of talking. Many things that we take for granted today, we have learned. And along with that, we have learned fears. In a village in Kerala where a 4-year-old kid, that village is full of snakes, and I don't exaggerate because the snakes are like insects. They're everywhere. If you walk 10 feet, you will see two snakes crossing you. Okay. In that village, there was this 4-year kid playing with it. And don't ask me any rational, any explanation. I don't have one. But the fear was not there in the kid anyway. But you and me, for me for sure, most of us have fear. We have learned. So we should be able to unlearn that. Number one. How many of you can read this in say 5 seconds? And if you read, you can type in the chat window as well. Yeah, that's about 5 seconds. So I'm pretty sure I will not read it out loudly. I'm pretty sure most of you could make out what is written here, right? And if you see, most of what not what our mind is reading, including the signature, right? So that means the fear is always to try something that I don't know. I'll give you an example. I was driving in Europe when I was working there. So on the highway, you're supposed to go at 120 kilometers per hour. There is no other way. You have to drive 120. You cannot drive slow, much slower than that, maybe 110, but not really slow, unless. So 3 sessions over, 4 classes over, I am not able to cross 60, 70. My instructor got tired of me and he pulled me over and he said, why do you drive as if somebody will come from somewhere? I realized the answer was in the question. I told in India, somebody will come from somewhere. So I had the fear that if I go fast, I'll not be able to stop because my experience got me this fear. He said, nobody will come here anywhere. You just have to put the gas pedal and you have to go at 120. And then I decided to try and I was very comfortable soon after. So fear, experience, and trying, they all are enemies to each other. They tease each other very much. If you try, you'll be surprised how much you will surpass your own expectation. Some of you can try while you're listening. If you're a right-hander, try writing with your left hand. Your name, maybe a sentence. You might start with the expectation that it will be horrible, but you can surprise yourself that it can be better than your regular hand. Okay? It's about trying. Study about these topics if you have not done so. It's called epigenetics. Genetics, all of you would know. Genetics is the study of DNA. DNA helps us become who we are. So a same chromosome gives like two identical twins. They end up being two different people. One can have an heart attack at 50. One can live long and run marathon at 50. Genetics is a software that writes on DNA. It can switch on, switch off DNA. It does not change DNA. It can control DNA. Which DNA can switch on, when which DNA can switch off. So many diseases attributed to genetics are not explained in science today. So this is a science. Epigenetics is a science which is proving that our bodies have the ability to heal and repair itself, and greatly affected by our own beliefs, thoughts, emotion, and intentions. If you believe many of our aim to do was to control these four things. They said keep your body still so that your mind is still. Keep your mind is still so that your thought is still. Keep your thoughts are still so that your emotions are still. And that's how they built the whole system, that we can control where, how we can realize our potential. Science also tells us we know less than 1% of outer space, and we know less than 1% of our brain. So what do we know then? Practically nothing. So epigenetics helps you control, develop yourself something that you have no clue how big your potential is. Okay, this is the picture I was talking about. Look at the kind of adaptations. These birds did not appear at the same time. They all different points of time in nature, and left side is the function and right side is the beak function and the leg function on the left side, depending on what they're supposed to do. So that means there is no one thing for all, or there is no same thing for everyone, right? It will be very unfair of me to give a prescription today that this is what you should do, and I believe that that is the wrong way to make people do something for a long time. So for walking it's different, for perching it's different, for seeking prey, can you see the sharp clawing thing? And climbing is very different. So look at the angles. Now who designed this? The nature designed this based on what it's supposed to do, right? That's how certain things became extinct and certain things became. Now there are two kinds of disruptions. Disruption is a significant change is called disruption. Okay, small change versus big change. Big change is generally understood as disruption. Disruption by absence is the removal of something which always to do what we almost always did. Okay, how many of us sit on the floor to eat nowadays compared to a dining table? So we always, at least in my case, we always used to sit down and eat. And we don't have that option. I'm just giving a simple example. It could be different for each one of us. How many of us, we used to use this charcoal powder for brushing teeth. Sometimes when the paste was over, we used to use salt crystals for that, right? So there are changes which will remove what you had, okay? Which will remove what you had, which you're used to. And different people come get used to different things. Another kind of disruption is by the presence, by adding something, by adding something that you never had before to do what you already did, or which to do things which you never did. An iPad, for an example, we never knew what to do with it before. Including myself, I was very skeptical, and I still am, that reason than excuses to make it work. So there are things that you bring in. Now a toothbrush or a phone or etc. an app. So we are now used to it, and we wonder we used to do things before that. Okay. So disruption by absence. I'm going back to the slide. Removing something because of a change. You remove something which you always take for granted. Disruption by added which we never had before. The cart, the horse cart people never had a car before that. Okay, something like that. Now, to do any of this, adaptation to understand change is key. So let me help you with this graph. On the x-axis, you have small or incremental change, it's called, and a big change or a disruptive change, like I just explained. Okay, that is a quantum of change. On the y-axis, you have controllability. The scope of controlling an action is either there is a direct control for you or indirect control, or maybe to the extent of no control. If the change in nature and you can control how you respond to the change, you can repair it. Like I gave you an example. The change is the air has receded from your car tire, or you have direct control. Either you can fill the air yourself if you have equipment at home, or get it filled. Done. So generally, you call the repair mode of adaptation. If the change is small, but you have no direct or control or direct, then you have to repurpose. Okay, you have to make sure that you either change your goal or change your means, because there is a change that you're forcing you which you cannot control that. If there is a big change, disruptive change, but you can directly control. Phone, for example, is a disruptive change. Okay, it's big because it decides how you talk to people, how you communicate and network with people. My dad struggles to reconfigure. What is reconfigure? Reconfigure means he is a very people person. He needs people to talk to, but he has not been able to reconfigure himself to talk to people over phone, mobile phone. The landline phone is okay because he grew up with it, but mobile phone not. He cannot so all of us cannot do everything normally, but we should know which zone we are into. Last one is resynthesize. We today's focus on resynthesize. Disruption is big and we don't have control. The situation we are in. We have no really not much of direct control. We can do certain things, but we cannot directly control the situation. Change is big. So small change, direct control, repair. Small change, no direct control, repurpose. The change is big, but you can still do something directly, reconfigure your cells. But if both are big and don't have, you have to resynthesize. Resynthesize basically means disassemble yourself and rebuild into something else. Disassemble yourself, get to the bare building blocks and build something else. Imagine you and your brother are playing, you have built a tower, you remove the tower, you have the building blocks again, and you build another kind of tower. Okay. So it will be something like this. Today we should be in this state, not in an opportunity to configure yourself. Maybe it will be Javed 2.0, Ashwini 2.0, SK 2.0, whatever that is, right? It's an opportunity to do so. This is a simplistic view of car system. You might think this is complicated, and you will be surprised that we are much more complicated, magnitude of order complicated than this car. If you can do this, do it ourselves. It may take effort, of course. Anything worthwhile takes effort, but we need to think of disassembling ourselves and reassembling ourselves. Okay, what does that mean? There are dotted line circle here. Peace is an activity that you can do. So what are those activities? There are quadrants to this, and the more lines there are, the more smooth the circle will be. The more diagonals that you can make, you will have more smooth that you can build. The first one is your physical level. I don't mean that you have to be a Mr. Universe or something. Physical fitness is about health, being fit, being is a basic premise. So for that, you might need to do sport, you might need to do exercise, you might do something else, you might do work. Even farmers in the last generation who used to work for 7-8 hours from morning 8 o'clock till evening o'clock to have 2 meals. Now we sit for 10 hours and we have 3 meals per day, right? That's one of the basic reasons why we are having issues. We eat far more than we require and we spend much more. So physical level of things. It could be through a hobby. It could be a cricket. It could be tennis. It could be whatever you like. That will make your world of physical world better. Your mental world should be much better as well. And there is a premise to that. Most uh, connect your social ability. So the fourth one is also societal fitness. Social fitness is different. Societal fitness is different. Social fitness is how do you be a good team player? How do you work with others? How do you accommodate? Nobody is perfect. Can you not stop fighting with others and be good terms to get a progression on? Societal fitness is how do you fit into society? What do you do to society? Generally, the top two, mental and physical, is where you put in, you get back something. If you put an effort to be mentally fit, you get peace of mind. So both are giving something back to you. Physical fitness, you feel light, you feel good. Okay. Societal fitness seems one way, seems long term. You do something to society. IEEE volunteering is a very classical example, which comes into societal. You do that, but you don't get an immediate. That if you get gratification, it's not a service. So societal fitness, what is the impact to society? What are you leaving the society with? Which before was it worse than you did before, or is it better than you have done now? What are you contributing to it? What is your contribution? The fourth is spiritual, and don't get confused with the spiritual part here. It is understanding the purpose. Why are we here? How does the world work? What does the nature do? How does this whole thing fit in? How does the three work in tandem? Are they separate? Are they together? So understanding life as a big picture makes it. So the more things you do in each of these quadrants, the circle will be better. I've just put an example. Some of us might be reasonably good in physical, okay in mental, societal is okay, but some things we lack. So this amoeba shaped thing, this awkward shaped thing should start to become a circle, and that circle should expand and fill every part of this bigger circle. So that means what we have. If you do that, you can start with yourself, then the near and dear, then the society and the world. I have put the same thing in a different view. Please understand there are two aspects to near and dear, your society and world. On the x-axis to y-axis, there is a spread, a continuum as we call it. It goes from internal to external. All of these things can be internal focused or external focused. You can do something yourself which is benefiting you. You can do something in yourself which can help your external people. Suppose you can do your own work if you're physically fit. If you're old and but you're still fit, you don't need to depend on someone. Be much better without being bogged down to you. So the whole idea is please understand whichever level you are in, whether you are still growing yourself in the self part or the near and dear part or the society part or the world part, nothing excludes you. Everything, every rectangle has you in it. So that means you are the center of attention, you're the center of action, you're the center of everything purposefully that you do. Without your effort, none of the other things will change. There was this experiment done about, some of you might have heard about this experiment. Two frogs were taken and two pans were taken. Two pans were filled and one frog was put in the water and kept to boil. The other frog was kept aside and the pan with water was boiled first and then the frog was put into the boiling water. So one frog was put into boiling water, one frog was put into the pan with water and slowly started to boil. The experiment showed that the frog that was put into boiling water jumped out immediately, the left frog, the top frog which jumped out. So the frog that was put into boiling water jumped out instantly because it felt that this change was uncomfortable. It needed to act before it could be swallowed by the change. It could be killed. Which which started with normal temperature, slowly boiled over. It felt there was no need to do anything, and it was killed in the end. When the water started to boil, it was already too weak to jump out, and it did not realize action much earlier. It was too late. So this frog story tells us that you should know when to act, and of course you should act as well. There is something I call the KDA model: knowledge, decision, and action. Okay. Knowledge is what do you know and what do you need to know, what do you want to know. You need to know because you need to decide. That's the D part. D is based on what you know. You cannot decide on something that you don't know, right? A is knowing what you know and being in a position to decide the course of how do you act. If you act, what do you do, etc. So knowledge, decision, action. Today, people have a very big problem either in knowledge or in decision. They think action is knowledge. They think action is decision. Sometimes the best decision is not to decide. Sometimes the best decision is not to decide, to act. So be very clear what do you know in terms of knowledge and what do you not know. Can you take a decision with whatever you have information? If you don't know, how do you get the what you don't know part to make a decision? Having knowledge, having decided when is the right time to act, what is the best way to act. So that is very important and remember the frog story for that. But it's not so easy. Now I'm taking to another world of how our psychology works. All of us could have gone more the things that I mentioned now. There is something called the law of effect, which says that if I take an action, and if the result of that action is satisfactory, give an example in a minute, then I'll most probably repeat it. If the result of my action is satisfactory, if I like the action, if I like the outcome of my action, I'll probably repeat it. And the law of effect converse is also, if there is an unfavorable outcome for an action, then probably I do will not repeat it. Let me give an example. Suppose as a college student, you reach the class early and comes in early, or you reach your office early and your boss is also early. And if your boss says, "Hey, that's good to see you on time. I appreciate it." So it's the first case. There was a result which gave you a good satisfaction. Hey, I got good remarks from from my boss. So I think I should do it more often. Okay, that's the first part. Same scenario. You go late to a class. You go late to a meeting in your office, and your boss says, "This is not acceptable. You should, be careful because you missed the most important part of the meeting." So here there is an outcome which is unfavorable. So you think now, hey, I don't think I should do this again because I'll miss important stuff in office. Time. So then less likely to go late to office, go late to college. So these are the building blocks that I'm talking about. See what connects to you, what sticks to you. This is a law of effect. Next one is the IKEA effect. IKEA, people call it differently. The Swedes call it IKEA. So the exaggeratedly high value and attachment placed on products that you build yourself. 3 years ago, just 3 years ago, I made a FM small. I bought a kit and made an FM radio. Because I made the FM radio, I was so excited about it. I called my daughter, younger daughter, 6, 7 years, and asked her, "See, this is FM radio." She said, "In a car, what is the big deal?" So I was like, "Yeah, but I made it." She was like, "So?" So there was no attachment to her which I had because I had built this product. In IKEA, if you know, you buy a product, you assemble yourself. The whole IKEA effect means the way they market products to you and the way build attachment to you is very different. So if you build something, you get attached to it. And if you want to get attached to something, build it yourself. Next one is the Pygmalion effect. Very interesting one. If you commit to doing something in front of others, I will learn Python, I will learn R, I will learn this, I will learn guitar, I will learn music, you are 800% more likely to follow through. That's why when you ask people to commit, they go open, very safe, because if they say something, then it's very unlikely that they will miss it. So if you want to try this, and I have tried this, sometimes it worked, many times it worked, but sometimes it did not. If you commit in front of people, maybe some of you can say today, if you get a chance to speak, or if you want to have a type in the chat window, I'm going to do this throughout. So you are more likely to succeed than making a commitment to you alone in your own room. There was this famous thing a couple of years ago where they painted a piano. So there is a stairs on the left side of the picture and there is an escalator on the right side of the picture. So if you see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 on the stair side and there are a couple of 1, 2, 3, 4 people on the two escalators. What they tried to do was to encourage people not to take the escalator. They did not force them, they encourage them. Do it on their own motivation, do it on their own. So that in like a piano, that if you can hop onto it, it kind of give you a feeling that you are walking on a piano and make some sound. So the fun theory, this was done by Volkswagen, is people behavior can be changed by making boring more fun. Now if you apply to today's scenario, nobody loves to mop, nobody loves to sweep the floor or wash the dishes, but you're forced to do it. So instead of making it boring, can you make it fun? The same applies to college, applies to professors, same thing applies to students, same thing applies to work. On an average, 30% of the work, at least, is that which nobody wants to do. If you take an average person in a work, 30% of the work he or is not interesting to him or her. But you have to find a way to make it more fun because if you're not having fun, you're not doing it well. Okay, so this is the fun theory or the Volkswagen effect. Very interesting one again. There were a set of students asked by a restaurant. The ask was like this. They asked students, "We will give you $50, but you have to hang a board around your neck, a big board saying eat at Joe's." Joe is a eatery. And you walk around the campus. half an hour and you come back, you collect your $50. So they asked people, each student one by one, separately, will you be willing to hang this board and walk around? So many people said yes, and some people said no. The experiment was very interesting because the result showed that whoever said yes always believed that others will also say yes, and whoever said no, they believed that others will not do it also, meaning they will also say no. So the false consensus effect is this. The false consensus effect is no matter what our beliefs, options, behaviors, we tend to believe that the majority of what other people agree with us is what we will do. Consensus. It's a false consensus. We believe that the majority of other people agree with us and act the same way we do. Right? In argument, some of you might have experienced this. Would you do this if you were me? And the other person will say yes, because that's the easiest thing to do. But the problem here is the consensus is misplaced because there is no. Okay? The next one I have named it Facebook effect because it's a very nasty one in my view. They manipulated the news feed of close to 700,000 users. I think I don't remember when. For 1 week, they gave them wrong news feeds. Positive sometimes, negative sometimes, but very strong emotionally. So for 1 week, 700,000 people wrong kind of an emotional news intentionally. It was an experiment. The conclusion, I'm just cutting the story short, is that people who got this were actually modulated exactly the way this today we are all succumbing to the social media pressures. And I'm proud to say, not because of any other reason, that I have resisted that. Still, I am not on Facebook, though many of my friends in this call are trying to get me on. It's not about right or wrong, it's about my comfort. It is the emotion, the conclusion is the emotions expressed by friends via online social networks influence our moods and hence our. Please be very, very careful from now on what it means to consume information. Okay, this is the Facebook effect. This was another experiment. So there was an experiment saying they you as a person to fill a questionnaire. Okay, this was an experiment, so some people were asked to act. So the experiment was like this: they give you a questionnaire to fill, which takes about 12-15 minutes. They put you in a room alone, a room, close the door, give you the questionnaire to fill, and the instructor walks out for you to fill. The moment you start to fill, after a few minutes, smoke starts to emerge from the door. Okay, the smoke from the door. The beauty of this experiment was when people were alone, sitting alone in the room, the door closed and the smoke started to come within 2 to 3 minutes, more than 75% of the individuals walked up to the person who was in charge to complain about the smoke within 2 minutes of seeing the smoke. They decided and they acted. But this is not the same when the people were asked to fill the questionnaire in a group. So now they put people with the same people who were given this task alone in the same room, but they put other people in the room who are actors, part of the experiment, who are asked to ignore. The smoke comes. So in this case, the questionnaire filling started, the instructor left, the door closed, questionnaire filling started. Within 2 minutes, the smoke started to come under the door. The same kind of situation, but only 10% of the people responded by calling the instructor and complaining that there is smoke in the room. The earlier experiment when they were alone was 75% and this was 10%. So there is always this smoke test effect called don't let the passivity of others result in your action. The others were still trying to rub their nose, rub their eyes, sniffle and everything. Don't always assume that someone else will help, that someone is specified to take action on behalf of others. Be the one to take action. There is a corollary to this called the bystander effect. Suppose there is an accident, and this global phenomena, not only Indian phenomena. An accident on the road. If someone needs help in a public place where there are many people, when there are many people around the person who needs help, if he has fallen down, everybody waits for someone to take action. It's called the bystander effect. This. Here you are modulated by what others did because you think others will do, and in the end you suffer too. So don't do that. Now comes another thing. I will show you 4 pictures. Tell me if you know anyone who resemble these people. I can't see the chat. Assuming some of you have known anyone, you're hallucinating. Yeah, you're hallucinating because these are not real people. These people do not exist on the face of earth. AI has created these based on certain key ingredients, inputs, keywords, descriptions given. These are fake people. They do not exist. If you don't believe me, go to this site called thispersondoesnotexist.com. Very original, very beautiful, very handsome, whatever you want to call it, but they simply don't exist. This is the level of information that we are exposed to today. It is up to you. You will consume KDA model. Which is your K? What is your K? How do you come to D? And what do you take as action? These people simply do not exist. Okay. Look at this video. Play it again because some people will miss it. I'll play it again. So those who know this game, there is no rule prohibiting that you cannot do this. It's just nobody did it so far. So there is always this problem. It seems impossible till you find a way. Most of us as kids and even as adults are fascinated, mesmerized by magic shows, right? Magic tricks. I still believe when I was a kid, I went to this PC Sarkar or something like Mysore town hall. I still vividly remember. I was sitting in the audience and I was on the aisle seat. You know, usually there are two parts of the auditorium and middle there is a passage. They used to do this trick of taking this, they'll make a cover it up with a bed sheet and he keeps doing something and the body goes up and one fine moment he snaps he removes the bed sheet and there is no one there, right? That happened that day also. I don't remember other tricks, but because the person who was there was standing next to me, and even now I get goosebumps because I said it's not possible. But magic is one such thing where there is always a trick. It seems impossible, and many things in real life is also like that. Many You cannot invent a bulb. You feel it's impossible to you. He did not invent it on day one, Edison. It took him years. It will take years for us also. But you have to find a way. Until then, it seems impossible. So it's up to you how much you want to find a way. That's where confidence and competence clash. This is one of the last biases that I'm going to talk about. I use this a lot in my sessions as well. I'll help you read this graph. On the x-axis is your experience level. Okay, whether you are a novice on the left side or an expert on the right side of the x. Confidence. Confidence means how confidence is not what you have. Confidence is what you feel what you have. Confidence is what you think, what you feel, what you have, not actually what you have. People have very high confidence for two extreme reasons. When they have very little experience, they feel they overestimate their own ability. And when they are experts, obviously their ability correctly. But the first peak is a false peak. When you have no experience and you feel, the ability is too high. One of the reasons young people get into a trap of success is this. Confidence and different things. Ability is whether you can do it. Confidence is whether you can think you can do it. And take cricket for an example. A lot of people who have ability who don't have confidence, and a lot of people who have made up for lack of ability. I don't want to take names, but there are enough cricketers because I study cricket from a different perspective, from a technical perspective. People who have ability to play cricket have not been successful because they didn't have confidence at the highest. People who had confidence, though had average ability, have been very successful. So Dunning-Kruger effect makes you be aware that are you overestimating your ability, and this is what happens for those industry appraisal. There is something called self appraisal. I understand it's also even in academic institution nowadays. Self appraisal means if I am the boss and I have a subordinate and every year I have to evaluate his or self appraisal means I as a boss ask my subordinate, tell me what do you think of about your own performance last year. Did you think you did well? Take a scale of 1 to 5 and tell me. Usually when self appraisal, you always rate yourself much better than what you are. So that's a trap. We should not be in the trap. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect for you. That means do not expect miracles because you want it. You get miracles not if you expect it. So you miracle is a result of there is something which I always like to hear. It took me 20 years to be overnight success. It took me 20 years to be overnight success. Okay, you have to work for it. So this is more or less the last slides. So this is just the beginning. You have to make a plan, and you have to make a plan. Not something that you do once and put it in your computer and say this is my plan. No, a plan is something that you make practically every day, depending on how much you want to see. And you don't have to see 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, 3 years down the lane. Tomorrow. That's good enough a plan, right? It makes a lot of sense. So Zig Ziglar said, but how do I keep my plan up to date every day? You need motivation. Then people said, well, motivation, it doesn't last long. You don't have a to get motivated. Zig Ziglar, you can read this book from this guy who has a lot of nice books. Is well, neither motivation nor bathing lasts. That's why we do it daily, right? So motivation is your business. You take action to get yourself motivated. Don't expect others to come and motivate you. Okay, and that's what I wanted to share. And thank you so much. So I have done with my part of the presentation. I'm trying to get back to the screen. Yes, I'm back here. Ashwini, I'm done with my presentation.
Yeah, it was really nice, sir, with few short videos, which was more entertaining, even though it was virtual. So we really miss your direct virtual. I mean things. But today I really didn't feel that it was virtual, and I was just feeling like you were right in front of me and giving the talk. So it was really nice. And here we have a question. One is from Keith, who's he's a faculty. So what he's telling is like, I've heard many students and faculty saying with respect online classes, why to attend, why to do anyway, we don't know whether we'll be alive because of corona. What do you think that they are not ready to